What we just saw between Congresswoman Veronica Escobar and Secretary Kristi Noem wasn't a routine exchange. It was another glimpse into the political theater that's replacing serious debate in Washington.
Madam Secretary, I have a question related to something more close to home for me in the community in El Paso with DHS employees. For decades, CBP employees who work at our land ports of entry have been contractually allowed by CBP to have an off-site location for their union. And this off-site location is completely funded by union dues, not by taxpayer money. And again, this was something agreed to in their contract. I was shocked and alarmed to learn that they were told by DHS they could no longer be off-site, and they were forced to come into a DHS facility in El Paso. It's a conference room, media training room. So that part of their contract, that longstanding agreement, was violated in my eyes. Are you aware of this at all?
I have heard about it, but I don't know the details of that agreement, so I can follow up with you and get that back to you. And if you would lay out the concerns for being co-located, I think that would be fantastic for me to know.
We will. We'll make sure to communicate with your team. Would love to work with you on this. The same has not been true for the Border Patrol Union. So there's disparate treatment, and additionally, just to very quickly lay out why it's important for union members to be able to speak to their union leaders in private, and being located in a small conference room, media training room, offers no privacy. There are other issues, but I look forward to working with you on that.
I do know that, the difference in the two unions is important, and I'll look into how those were interpreted. And I also know that the one union is located under the Treasury Union as well, and that defines some requirements and for how it's regulated and set out going forward. So I'll see if that is the determining factor on why there was a difference in how the locations were determined.
And I would ask, Madam Secretary, that you please allow the El Paso Union to continue to be housed off-site. It is their preference, doesn't impact the budget or appropriations. They pay for it. So I don't see a reason why this long-standing, decades-long situation should be changed. So would ask for your support for that, please.
I'll look into it.
Okay, perfect. I also wanted to ask you about this NBC News story, and I'll enter into the record this article as well. U.S. citizen family traumatized after ICE raided their Oklahoma home in search of someone else. And according to the local affiliate, KFOR, which was reporting on this story, immigration agents raided the home last week. They had a search warrant for the home, but the suspects listed on the warrant were no longer living in the home. The family was forced to wait outside in the rain during the search. A mother and her girls, all U.S. citizens. Their money was taken, their laptop, their cell phone. I asked you at the top of our first round if you believed it was important for DHS, and if you would attest to the fact that DHS needs to rectify any mistakes. If this were a mistake, will you ensure that this family, this U.S. citizen family, gets its property back in a timely manner?
Well, in that particular situation, the warrant for that situation was on the house and the facility, not on the individuals that were there. And so that house was being used for human smuggling. And so those operations were conducted against the facility. And even in that situation, there was some individuals there with the same last names and some of the similarities.
But
and
if
so
it were a mistake, Madam
continuing-
Secretary,
we
if
believe
it were a
everything was
mistake.
done appropriately, and we'll continue to make sure that it is done and handled appropriately.
All right. Well, appreciate you looking into it. That not my constituents, but you had mentioned in your testimony, and you've said previously, that the focus of your agency is to go after the worst of the worst, people who are here illegally. But we have seen reporting and spoken to individuals, we meaning Congress, that in fact, there have been abuses on that front. People with legal protections have been deported. I laid out in the first round U.S. citizen children. I don't know, and I asked, and you said you'd get back to me about whether parents actually filled out the ICE forms that are normally used for those processes. U.S. citizen families with nothing to do with human trafficking, and now DHS employees as well, in my view, have been subjected to an abuse of power. And we all swore an oath to the Constitution. This is a democratic republic. Rule of law is important, due process is important, and ultimately that will be my North Star, not just in this hearing, but throughout everything that I work on as a member of Congress. I thank you, Madam Secretary, and Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Escobar tried to paint ICE and DHS as villains for a lawful operation tied to human smuggling. But Kristi Noem stood firm, refusing to let Democrat emotion override legal reality. Let's set the record straight. ICE had a valid search warrant. That warrant wasn't for people. It was for a property being used as a hub for human trafficking. When law enforcement secures a warrant for a location, it's because a judge found probable cause that criminal activity is happening there. If agents ignored that evidence because they were afraid of bad press, the traffickers would keep operating freely. That's the part Democrats leave out. Now let's humanize this. Yes, a family was frightened. Yes, their belongings were taken during the search. That's painful. And if anything was mishandled, those errors should be corrected quickly. But that doesn't make the operation illegal or abusive. Republicans can stand by law enforcement and still insist on accountability. Supporting ICE doesn't mean ignoring mistakes. It means trusting professionals to do hard jobs while ensuring their actions are reviewed when something goes wrong. Escobar's questioning revealed more about Washington politics than about DHS. Instead of acknowledging that human trafficking remains a serious threat, she shifted to unrelated issues about union offices and privacy complaints. That's a distraction, an emotional tactic meant to make the agencies sound oppressive. But what's really oppressive is the lawlessness along our southern border. What's truly traumatizing are the lives destroyed by cartels, the fentanyl killing Americans, and the children being trafficked across an unsecured border. These are the consequences of weak border policy, not of the agents trying to fix it. Noem handled this with clarity and calm. She didn't let emotion override fact. She reminded Congress that her department acted within the law and that their target was a known smuggling location. Democrats love to talk about compassion, but compassion without order is chaos. Real compassion protects citizens, prevents crime, and secures our borders, so these raids become unnecessary in the first place. This hearing should remind viewers that enforcing immigration law is not cruelty, it's justice. Every nation has a right and duty to protect its borders. ICE and DHS agents risk their lives to uphold that principle. They deserve respect, not suspicion. When Democrats attack them, they're not just criticizing an agency, they're undermining the very foundation of law and order.